Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to go to Aberdeen, where I used to study, where I did my chemistry degree of course. I really loved it there. But for this one we're going to have a look at the newest of the craft beer breweries up there. So we're going to go to Cap Brewery and have a look at one of their bottle beers today. This one is the Stout beer, and I've actually tried this on tap in their bar, and it is quite a nice one. It's quite different from the other stouts I've had, but I do remember quite enjoying this one. They do some really nice beers. The Scotch Ale in particular I remember being very good, so hopefully I can review that one for you at some time in the fairly near future, but it should be very cool to review this brewery finally. I've wanted to review them for quite a little while. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual websites are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my future reviews that I'll do from Bottle Cap. This is the very first time I'm reviewing one of their beers on the channel for you here, and there's all the usual social media, Facebook, Twitter and Untappd, so please follow me on there. Your support would be much appreciated, and if you do want to see more beer reviews, just subscribe to the channel, and hopefully we will be returning to Bottle Cap Brewery very, very soon. So anyway, to tell you about the company itself, so as I mentioned to you, Bottle Cap Brewery are based in Aberdeen, and they were founded back in 2014 by Gary Cryle, who's actually worked for a number of years in management and marketing, and he's a local from Aberdeen. I'm sure I've met him in the bar, and he said he's from Hazelhead actually, but they were actually the first microbrewery to brew their beer within the city limits of Aberdeen, but a high demand for their beers has meant that they've had to move all of their production to Balmedy, which is a really nice little beach town just to the north of the city. I think it's maybe about 10 miles or so away from the city, but it is really quite nice. But the bar that they have is on Little John Street, which is right behind Marischal College, one of the constituent colleges of Aberdeen University. It used to be the medical school in fact, but at the top of the hill you've got Brewdog, just down the hill a little bit you've got 6 Degrees North, and right next door you have Cap Bar and Brewery there. And it actually used to be the unofficial Aberdeen Students' Union. It used to be called JP's, but since Bottle Cap have moved into it, they've done it up quite a bit, and it did need that, but they've got quite a nice bar set up there now, and if you go in you can get pizza for a £1 actually if you buy a beer, so it's pretty awesome. And they've got their own beers on tap, and they have some of the other local things too. They've got Speyside Craft Brewery, D-Side Brewery, some Brewdog stuff, 6 Degrees North too. They specialise on their taps mainly in Scottish craft beer, so if you're visiting from abroad, Cap Bar and Brewery is somewhere that I would recommend going, and their pizzas are all homemade and have local ingredients too, so that's always a good thing. So do go and check out Cap Bar and Brewery if you find yourself in Aberdeen. And they also have a bottle shop now as well, so do go and check out the brewery website in the description below, and you can see where all of these things are. But we're very lucky in Aberdeen that we had a very good craft beer scene. These guys opened up just as I was leaving actually, so this is why it's been such a long time before I've reviewed one of their beers. But just to list the other ones that they have in their bottled range, these ones were released only about 6 months ago. There's the blonde beer, the wheat, the IPA, the stout, and also the Scotch Ale as well. I wanted to review the Scotch Ale first for you, but I actually couldn't find a bottle of it. I bought this one in the Cave in Glasgow. But yeah, you can see they've got quite a nice presentation on their bottle. All of them are very similar to this, they're just different colours depending on what beer it is you have. It's a plain bottle cap on this one, and it's really quite nicely done. You can see this one's a stout beer, as you might have guessed, and it comes in at 5.2%. It says best before the 31st of May 2016. It says the stout is a roast malt forward dark beer with a coffee richness and smooth mouthfeel. So without further ado then, let's get this guy open and we'll get on with the tasting. I'm really interested to do my first video review of this brewery. Yeah, so as you can see, a nice smoky opening there as we get this guy open. But yeah, I really wanted to review these beers for you a lot sooner, but as I said, I've been away in Australia, I've moved to Sweden now, and I just finally managed to get a hold of one of these beers in the bottle before I came back to Sweden after Christmas. So it's been a long time coming, this Bottle Cap Brewery review, but I hope you guys enjoy it nonetheless. But as you can see, this beer is poured a really nice sort of ebony rosewood colour. If I hold it up to the light, it does have a little bit of a ruby tinge to it. You probably can't see that too well with the camera though. but it looks very, very nice. There's a kind of quarter or a third of a finger of a frothy beige tan head, but that's just going to fade away to be a very thin foamy layer. I actually tried a stout in the bar. I'm not sure if it was this one. I think it was a bit stronger than 5.2%, but they had a really nice imperial stout, I believe. I'm sure it was like 8 or 9%, and it was really nice, vanilla-y, had some nice fruity esters in it. So let's see what this one comes out like. Their Scotch ale that they do as well on tap is really, really nice. Yeah, this smells like a really nice beer. So, you've got some sweet chocolatey malt in there. You can pick up just a little bit of the coffee-ish notes. There's a sort of roasted, almost well-fired bread crust sort of thing going on with this beer too, but chocolate first and foremost. Definitely some roasted brown sugar in there as well, sort of caramels, toffees, things like that. But it does smell a bit more on the toasted side. There's a sort of vanilla underlying to this one as well, with some like nuts or a slightly woody aroma, I would say. Especially when you sugar it up, you can really smell the nuts, and it's particularly the woody character that comes out of this one. There's a bready malt base in there, almost like a kind of rye malt bread actually, a rye malt base. But it smells really nice. It's actually quite a mild aroma. It's not too pungent, but everything seems to blend together very, very well, and that's exactly what you want. There's a good bit of earthy hop in there as well, which is what you would expect. They've probably used some of the nice English hops in this one, like maybe Fugels or something like that, to give you the nice roasted base, I would say. But the earthy hop character is very nice too. There is a little bit, there's maybe a little bit of red fruity ester as well. There is a teeny bit of sharpness to it, but overall it comes across as quite a red candied fruit ester, I would say. So as I always say with your beers, just take a little bit of time and smell them before you actually taste them, because it can give you a good idea of what to expect. So without further ado then, let's get stuck into this beer. So this is the Stout beer from Cap Brewery. Their bar's in Aberdeen, but the beer is brewed just up the road in Balmedie. So do go and check them out. I'd recommend the Scotch ale, but for the moment, let's see how we get on with the Stout beer. Skål. Slange, as we would say at home. Yeah, this definitely isn't the stout that I tried in the bar. This one's really different. Yeah, the one that I tried in the bar was a lot sweeter and a lot more chocolatey and vanilla than this. This one leans a lot more towards the roasted character, which is exactly what it said on the bottle. This one leans more towards the coffee-ish flavours and that sort of well-fired bread crust that you get in some of these beers. But yeah, it is nice. The complexity that you get from the aroma isn't in the flavour too much, I would say though. At the back corners of the palate, you've got the earthiness, but the main part of the flavour in this one, it really is the malt base. These roasted coffee flavours, they're right in the middle of the tongue. If you just go straight down the middle of the tongue and start to move out of the back, you can feel this coffee-ish flavour, this dark roasted black malty coffee-ish flavour that just spreads out towards the back sides of the tongue, and it's actually really quite dry, but it's nice. If you like coffee stouts, you will probably enjoy this beer. Yeah, no, this is quite a good beer. I have to admit, their sweet, as I said, the sweet stout that I tried in the bar was really nice. It had this beautiful, quite boozy vanilla flavour to it, and it was lovely. I wish I knew what it was called, but it was a brand new one that the guy let me try. I think it was actually Gary that I was speaking to in the bar, and he let me try this new beer that they'd done. And they do have some experimental beers, by the way. If you go into the actual bar, they do have some things that they brew as one-offs to test them, but these are their main kind of bottle beers that you're going to be able to get a hold of. But yeah, this is a very, very roasted stout. So sugar it around your palate a bit and let the whole mouth adjust to this beer before you start dissecting the flavour too much. Yeah, it does start to smooth out a little bit after you get over that initial kind of roasted bread crusty coffee bitterness, but at the back corners of the palate you've got a little bit of earthy hop, and there is a bit of dryness from that. It smooths out as you come further forward, and I would say around the front curve of the palate it does have a little element of floral and kind of grassy hop to it, and that's what makes me think they've used Fuggles hops in it, for example. It does have that typical sort of English, slightly floral, grassy character, as well as that nice earthiness that's in the beer. But yeah, as your palate adjusts to this beer, you start to get more of a bready flavour, and the bread is quite smooth. I'm not picking up too much in the way of the caramel that was in the aroma, which is quite surprising, because normally if you smell caramel, you're going to get caramel in the beer. But perhaps these roasted malt flavours are kind of overpowering that a little bit. Yeah. Whereas the chocolate sweetness does start to come out a little bit near the front of the palate. As your mouth adjusts to this beer, you can get a tiny little bit of a red candied fruit ester in there as well. As I always say, just behind that front curve of the tongue, you get a little oily bubble, and that's where a lot of these fruity ester flavours start to come out on the palate. And yeah, you can detect a little bit of a red candied fruit ester. It always reminds me of these Haribo heart sweets that you get in the Star Mix things. And you can just detect that there, but that's a very subtle note. It's more chocolatey near the front of the mouth. You can pick up a little bit of vanilla that mixes in there, and the vanilla starts to come out a bit more in the aftertaste. The bitterness does start to fade a little bit, but there is a lingering kind of coffee, but it's more of a, I'd say it's more of a kind of well-fired bread crust note that sits at the back of the palate. It's more chocolatey towards the front. You've got that little bit of fruity character, and also the earthy hops in the back part of the palate with that slightly floral, grassy English hop note at the front there. The vanilla's definitely in there too. The vanilla, I think, builds as you move towards the aftertaste of the beer, but I'm really not detecting the caramel. Yeah, there's not much in the way of caramel in this beer. There is maybe a little bit of woodiness, but it's quite different from what you would expect of the aroma. You can feel it just in the aftertaste, near the back edges of the tongue. There is a little bit of a woody flavour. It's not really nutty, definitely more of a woody flavour, and it mixes quite well with this earthy hop and the roasted kind of flavours at the back. It's almost like right in the middle of them, which is quite interesting. But yeah, I mean, overall, this is a pretty nice beer. I have to admit, I like the stout that they gave me in the bar, which was a more sweet stout than this, but if you like the nice dark roasty bitter stouts, you will enjoy this one. And I have to admit, the Scotch ale that they do, I was really impressed with that, so I really want to review that one for you next, but unfortunately I don't think I'll get it for a few months being here in Sweden. But the Scotch ale is a very nice beer as well. But if you like dark roasted coffee beers, sort of dark coffee stouts, you will probably enjoy this one. But in terms of the mouthfeel of this beer, this is actually really quite light. It doesn't have much of a creamy flavour to it at all. The water that these guys use is very nice. You will find it does have this slightly oily texture to it, and you can feel that in the beer, but it's mid-bodied. The carbonation, I would say, is quite smooth, but it does have a little bit of an attack to it. Yeah, carbonation does have a little bit of an attack. It comes in on the front of the palate, and it helps that kind of coffee bready, roast bread crust bitterness just take hold in this beer. But it is quite nice. As I said, it's quite oily. You can taste the mineral content in the beer on this one. This one leans more towards a kind of bitter, quite roasted malt base. As I said, there is a little bit of sweetness to balance it out, and in the back corners of the palate you've got some bitter hops, but it does smooth out as you come around the palate, and there's just a little tiny bit of a fruity character to the beer as well. But overall it is quite nice, and I'd recommend this to people if you like nice, quite bitter coffee stouts. If you like the sweeter stouts, then maybe this isn't quite the one for you, but I would recommend that you give it a go and see what you think. Some of the other beers, the IPA as well is nice. I've tried the IPA on tap. I haven't tried their wheat beer, and I think I've tried the blondes too. Their beers are actually very nice, but I would recommend this to those of you who enjoy the dark roasted stouts. And of course, as I said, the Scotch ale was the one that really impressed me, so fingers crossed I can review that for you at some point too. But yeah, the most important thing is that this is quite a good beer. As I said, recommended to those of you who enjoy your nice dark roasted coffee stouts. So yeah, this is a very new brewery in Aberdeen where I used to study, so do go and check them out. Bottle Cap Brewery, they do have their bottle shop as well. And you've got the Bottle Cap Bar and Brewery on Little John Street, just near Marshall College in the city centre. So do go and check them out. They produce some very nice stuff, and their bar, of course, is good for trying some other Scottish craft beers as well. So yeah, as always, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. I thank you once again for watching. If you have tried this beer yourself, please let me know what you think of it in the comments section below. Always interesting to hear from you guys. But until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Go and check out the social media things, and don't hesitate to get in touch and give me some beer recommendations. Always interesting to hear from you guys that are watching the videos. But until then, go and check out Bottle Cap Bar and Brewery, and hopefully I can return to them in the near future and review some more of their beers. Thank you again for watching, and I'll catch you soon. This is probably the most well-travelled bottle of Bottle Cap Bar's beer yet, so this one's come all the way to Sweden. So I hope you've enjoyed the review, and I will catch you soon. Cheers.